All right, Ron Goodall, FightHype.com. I'm here with the Mexican monster himself, David Benavidez, who makes a ring return out in Saudi Arabia, November 22nd against the tough Anthony Yarde. First and foremost, how excited are you to be back in the ring and, show the world that you're arguably one of the most avoidant and one of the most toughest guys out there in the world?
I'm very excited, bro. We're right here. We're on this side of the street, Riyadh season, to where all the big fights get made happen. And I'm excited to be here because I know I'm going to get these big opportunities after this fight. A lot of big opportunities are coming. But first things first, I'm 100% focused on my fighter, Anthony Yarde. I know he's a good fighter. He has a lot of experience. He's been in there with the best. But I'm just going to be too much for him. Right now, the moment where I'm at in my life, I feel like I'm a couple years away from taking over the sport of boxing, and I can't wait to do that and show the people who I am, show them how good I am. Like I said, there's a lot of great fighters on this side of the street, and I'm ready to fight all of them, and I'm ready to prove myself to the world and to the people that I'm going to be the best.
Isn't it crazy that you move into a whole nother division and it just seems like a whole bunch of craziness goes around? I'm sure you've already heard the news that a fight that many people were like, all right, they're going to do the trilogy, right? Bivol and Arthur's going to do it. But Arthur's going to be fighting on your undercard, right? Allegedly. And so just when you hear things like that, right? Like, does it frustrate you or is it just kind of like that's just kind of what happened? Because I know your ultimate goal was to, face one of those two guys.
To be honest with you, bro, it doesn't really frustrate me because patience is key in this game. In boxing, patience is key. And what I got on my side is that I'm getting experience. I'm getting some great fights, and I'm barely 28 years old. And I still got a long time, bro. I got another 10, 15 years left in me, probably more. So time is on my side. It's just that it's becoming a common occurrence that these dudes don't want to fight me. And I mean, it does frustrate me a little bit, but it gives me more confidence because they know what it is. They know when David Benavidez comes to fight that I'm not leaving there without a belt, or I'm not leaving there without a victory. So I know that these dudes are watching me really closely, and I know they know that I'm the best that they'll ever face out there. So I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm ready to give you guys, to prove to you guys I'm the best in the world. Like I never wanted any easy fights. I've never took any easy routes. If right now I'm in Riyadh season, I'm probably gonna end up having to take the hardest route out of any fighter, because this side of the street there's Beterbiev, there's Goodall, there's a Canelo in the future, and that I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? That doesn't scare me at all. First things first, we're going to take care of Anthony Yarde, and then we'll see what happens after this fight.
When do you, I guess, get that mature patience? Like, because you're like, hey, when my time comes, it comes. That's what a lot of people always tell the young fighters. But it seems like, I want to say like Bivol was intentionally doing games or, and Canelo obviously didn't set up the fight. But like, when did you get that moment where you're like, you know what? My time will come. I'm cool. You seem real at peace. Like, it doesn't.
Well, the first thing what keeps me cool at peace is I've been making really good money. The money's been really good with these fights. And also, you just can't rush it, bro. Everybody has their time. Like, everybody has their time. So once you get that opportunity, then you go at 100%. But like I said, I'm just getting better. I'm getting more experience. I'm becoming more of a household name. And like I said, the slower you move, the better. I'm not trying to be one of the fighters that gets a big fight and then he just disappears. I'm looking at this like the longevity. Like I said, I have another 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. You know what I mean? I don't know, but right now, like I said, you guys know, everybody knows that these opportunities are going to come sooner or later. And it looks like it's very close to happen. Like I said, Turkey Al-Sheikh, he's willing to make all these fights happen. I'm willing to make all these fights happen. And now I'm cornering everybody, and there's not gonna be no room for anybody to run.
I just want to get to the story of like, I've always talked to you when you're headlining pay-per-view in America, like that just seems like where it makes sense, like the market. But somewhere along the line, Al, Turkey, Louis, like how did that all happen? Like what allowed it going from pay-per-view Amazon to now headlining a stacked card with like all these other main event headline fights? Like how did it go from here to there? Like what was the conversation flow?
So the thing about, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Samson Lukowicz, Al Heyman, and Luis Decubas. Luis Decubas and Al Heyman and Samson Lukowicz, they've all had my best interest for a long, long time. I've been with them for a long, long time. And right now, what's coming up is that Turkey Al-Sheikh, he's making it a case that, he's willing to pay fighters a lot of money to make a lot of good fights happen. I'm still with PBC. I'm still with Samson Lukowicz. I'm still with Al Heyman, but they're allowing me to fight on these cards. And like I said, they've had my best interest for a long time since I've signed with them. So they told me that they're not going to deprive me from any opportunity. And this is just what it is right now, bro. It's just opportunities. Tyson Fury, Usyk, Deontay Wilder. Everybody's getting an opportunity. Ryan Garcia, Canelo Alvarez, they're all getting an opportunity. You know what I mean? So it's just I've put my heart and soul into this boxing game, and I've done everything that I could possibly do to get my opportunity. And I think this is my opportunity. And I feel like the promoters see that, and for them, I feel like for them to allow me to get the biggest fights possible, that this had to be done. They had to do this. You know what I mean? They had to let me go out here and get my name bigger. So that's what I'm doing. At the end of the day, coming over here, fighting with Riyadh season and just taking advantage of my opportunities.
Was that conversation like something like you brought up, or they came up to you? Because it seemed real simple, sounded real mutual. Like it sounded like they really have your back in this sense.
Yeah, they're the ones who set it up. You know what I mean? Obviously, we do the negotiating. They bring us names and stuff, and we're trying to do Callum Smith over here, and that fell through. And then, they told me if I would like to fight in Riyadh season. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Getting to your opponent, Anthony Yarde, tough guy. Timothy Bradley said, "Hey, you're going to essentially drown him. You're going to pretty much decapitate him." I know that you moving up in weight, you haven't got the signature knockout that people are accustomed, but Timothy Bradley was like, "You're going to whip his ass," essentially. Like, so I mean, what do you think about Anthony Yarde? And do you feel, because this is your third fight, after fighting two solid opponents, that you're a little bit more comfortable in the settings?
Yeah, I'm 100% more comfortable in these settings. And like I said, the more experience I get, the better I am. Sometimes you go when you get these big fights, it kind of takes you over, and sometimes you try too hard for a knockout. Sometimes you don't do things right because you're trying to just slug it out or have a slugfest and, give the fans what they want to see. I can still give the fans what they want to see, but now I'm gonna have to work a little bit smarter. Like I said, everything that I've learned my whole life, I've been boxing for 26 years. And I'm still learning every single day. I'm a student of boxing. I do a lot of different stuff. I'm always working on different techniques. And I've put together, a great plan for myself for this fight. And I'm just, if Timothy Bradley says, I'm going to end up drowning him, with my offense. But also, too, I'm going to be very responsible defensively. And I'm gonna say I'm gonna break him down. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna knock him out, because I don't want to say that no more. I just want to focus on doing my job right, and if the knockout comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I've been working on a lot of stuff, so I'm definitely looking to execute my game plan. And yeah, it's gonna be a good night, bro. And I hope it comes to fight. Like we're both saying we're gonna be in there, we're gonna be fighting in the middle of the ring. That's what I intend on doing. I don't intend on going back not one step. If that's what he said he's gonna do, then let's go. Let's have at it. You know what I mean? So that's what makes it exciting. Sometimes you have to get two fighters trash talking to get a great fight. I feel like I see Anthony Yarde. I see he has a dog in his eyes, and I feel like him right now. This is his third time attempting to win a world title, so he has nothing to lose. He has nothing to lose. So I know he's gonna become prepared. We've been training for like a month and a half already. We still got 4 months left. So, man, I'm going to come extremely ready. So I expect my opponent to come extremely ready as well.
Awesome. My last set of questions is in regards, I know you're focused on him, and, Bivol going to have like IBF mandatory, but there's been little rumors and stuff like that where, if you get past Anthony Yarde and Arthur wins, I mean, people are going to already compare your performance against Arthur. I know it's going to be a simple answer, but I just have to ask for my job. You and Arthur, even though there's no title on his end, would you defend your title against him? And do the route that everyone wish other fighters would do and face the more dangerous, high risk, low reward kind of fights like you always do.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, man, right now I'm in a position where my opportunity is in the form of a freaking Russian monster. You know what I mean? So I can't say no. Even if they offer me the fight, I can't say no. But like I said, first things first, I'm gonna take care of this fight, and I'm gonna look great in this fight. And if they offer me Artur Beterbiev, then that's what we're gonna do. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm gonna take every single opportunity I could get, because at the end of the day, if you don't push yourself, sometimes in boxing you get fights that they look like they're easy fights, or you fights that look like they're hard fights. So a lot of good fighters, they rather go for the easier fight. I think for you to prove your greatness, the greater fighter has to go the other way and take the tougher fighters, just to prove himself. And I'm gonna be 29 next year, so I have confidence in myself. I have confidence in my abilities. I have confidence with everything I've done in my career. And if that's what it's going to be, then that's what it's going to be. And I'm 100% ready for that.
You go on and beat Yarde, you go face Arthur and beat him. Regardless how much money Turkey puts out, Canelo's not going to 175 to face you 300, 400 million if you beat those two monsters back.
So that's the plan, man. And like I said, it's just the money is not, obviously the money's going to be good, but not the main thing I'm more motivated on beating that, because once I beat Artur Beterbiev, there's no doubt in anybody's mind that I'm the best 175 pounder. You know what I mean? The only other fighter I'd have to face is Bivol. And I go up there, I beat Bivol too. Imagine, what does that make me? So on the other side of this door is greatness. You know what I mean? This is everything I've been asking for. So the way I'm talking to you now, you could understand how motivated I am. I know exactly what's on the other side of the door. It's just for me to work hard and put everything into this. This is really my moment right now. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the end of this year and all next year. I know it's something big coming for me, and I'm ready.
Awesome. Last question, kind of a nerdy question after that. I appreciate you answering all the tough questions, but I just played Terrence Crawford in like Street Fighter and Tekken recently. I'm curious, did you ever play fighting games? Like, I just want to get a little bit of your childhood lore. Like, did you play some Mortal Kombat? Like, what you're a fighter, so I assume that you played something like that.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, the way I grew up, bro, I loved war movies, and I love fighting games, and I love shooting games as well. I was really good at Fight Night Round 3. I love boxing games. I don't really like the Tekken or the Mortal Kombat or that, but I would pump myself up because I would watch the movie 300. And if you're a warrior, bro, if you're a fighter, all fighters consider ourselves warriors. So it's just something about that movie that just motivates you. I don't know what it is, but if you're a fighter and you watch that movie, you know what I mean. So I'm not really too much of a video game guy, but I would get I'd get motivation from the war movies. Like Troy, in the movie Troy. Achilles, the legendary warrior. All those warriors, the Greek warriors, Roman warriors, they really motivate me a lot.
Makes a lot of sense with your mentality. And with the fight fans that's tuning in November 22nd with a stat card, I mean, like I said, you're the headline of headliners, right? Those are all fights essentially.
I'm excited, bro. Every time I keep looking at, I look at the picture of the card, and it's gonna be insane, bro. And this is like, I feel really happy that I could be headlining this card, because this is exactly what I want to do. I want to be a part of great cards. I want to be a part. I want to be that fighter that all the fans love. That the fans say, this guy is really making the biggest fights happen. So I'm on position. I'm on route to make that happen. So we're gonna keep working hard and keep giving it 100%.
Awesome. For the fans tuning in, what do you want to tell them that'll be tuning in on that amazing stat card?
Oh, it's gonna be exciting, bro. You know what I mean? The good thing is that everybody's gonna be at their family's house, because it's gonna be Thanksgiving weekend. So you guys are gonna be in for a hell of a weekend. A hell of a Saturday night.
All right, awesome. Thanks, David.